What is good, YouTube? Welcome to the H-Town Shutdown with your boy R Press. My apologies, I have been MIA in the last week. I'm actually traveling. I'm currently in the New York, New Jersey area. As you can see in the background, I'm in the hotel room. But I had to talk about some Houston sports, man. I've missed some time. The Astros are in a dogfight for the American League West. The Texans start out 0-2 with a pretty solid beatdown the Colts gave them on Sunday. But I think there's still some positives, even in that loss and even in the first two losses. So I just wanted to come on here and talk about it a little bit, give you an episode of the H-Town Shutdown, because things are getting tight for the American League West and Major League Baseball. Man, the Astros, man, let's just go back to the last time I was on and I had I had a video. I was talking about the Astros struggling with the Oakland A's, right? Well, they salvaged that series and won the last game. So they lost 2 of 3 to Oakland at home. Go on the road to Kansas City, lose 2 of 3 to the Kansas City Royals. Guys, we're talking about the Oakland A's, who they're 100 loss team now. We're just talking about the two worst teams in the American League, Oakland and Kansas City. We handed them their 100 loss, Oakland, but not before they got 2 off of the Astros. We go into the Kansas City Royals series. They got the worst record in baseball, 101 losses, and they win the first 2 games and look like a team that's, and look like a team that's like, yo, this team could be good if they put it all together. That's what they look like this past weekend. And I think they've won 6 out of the last 7 out of the last 8 that they played. So they've been on a little hot streak. But lose to them over the weekend. Come home, face the best team in the American League, the Baltimore Orioles, this past series. Lose the first 2 games, and the game 1, the Astros should have not lost that game. They were up 7-5 going into the bottom of the ninth. Ryan Presley allows a 3-run home run in the ninth, top of the ninth, 3-run home run in the top of the ninth to lose the game. So we take that loss. Tuesday night, got out of hand. Hunter Brown giving up home runs. Jose Urquidy giving up home runs. We lose that game. I think it was 10-5, 9-5. Today, it was the Bradish. His name is Bradish, right-handed pitcher. He's giving the Astros fits every time he's faced them. I remember last year when we faced the Orioles, I thought to myself, I don't think I want to see this team next year, because I think they're going to be a pretty damn good team, because they were going on a little run last year and made a fight for the wild card, but obviously didn't make it. This year, they're the best team in the American League. They're going to win 100 games, and Kyle Bradish is his name, the right-handed pitcher. We haven't hit him in 2 years. He's thrown nothing but shutout innings against the Astros. So he owns us. He throws a shutout inning. We get him out of there. We go to work on the bullpen. It's 1-0. We were able to tie it up on a Jeremy Pena RBI in the bottom of the 8th. And in the bottom of the 9th, we are able to win the game thanks to Mauricio Dubon's game-winning RBI to drive in Yainer Diaz, who was on third base, who started out that inning with a hit to get a double to get to second base. Chas McCormick comes up, grounds out to the first baseman, but moves Yainer over to third base. And I forget who. Mauricio comes in and brings him home. So with the game-winning hit. So a hell of a game for the Astros. I have to say this. Christian Javier pitched to Jim today. I think he had like 9 or 10 strikeouts. I hadn't seen this guy since last year, really. Hadn't seen this guy all year. And today, man, he had it going. You talk about going. He swings and misses, 9 strikeouts, only giving up 1 run. There's a lot of ifs, and we can't live in a world of ifs, because a lot of times that doesn't help. But if we get that guy, If we get that guy, imagine how much help that would be going into October if we make it there. And I say that because this race is tightened up. I'll get to that in a second. If we get the guy that we saw today with Christian Javier, I will feel a little bit better going into October. I don't know how good I would feel, but I would feel a little bit better going into October. This pitching staff and the pitching has been not good the entire year. I'm sorry. At one point in time, we're talking dog days of summer in June, the bullpen wasn't good. The starting pitching became a problem starting in July, with Framber Valdez going south and Christian Javier just completely folding. We get Justin Verlander back. That's supposed to boost us and help us. He hasn't been great. I'm not saying he hasn't been bad. He had one bad outing against the Oakland A's, but he hasn't been great. He's not the same guy that we had last year. He looks more like playoff Justin Verlander. You know, he does struggle in the playoffs. That guy. So hopefully we get the reverse. So we get the struggle Verlander now, and then we get the Cy Young ace in October. Hopefully that's the route we're going. But man, it hasn't been what we have expected as Astro fans. It's been up and down. It's been a wild ride. But I got to tell you that I think this team will make it, and I think this team will win the division. Now, I say that, and they only got a half-game lead on both Seattle and Texas. Last time we talked, Texas was in the middle of sweeping Toronto. Well, they went on a little skid again, and now, if we look at the standings, Toronto is in that 5th wild card spot. We know that Tampa Bay is holding down the 4th spot. So let's run down the American League real quick. Baltimore's in the top spot at the 1 seed. I think they're 2 games or 2.5 game, probably 2 games now, lead over Tampa. Tampa has a second best record, but they're in the 4th seed. Number 2 seed is the Houston Astros right now, and they're holding on by a thread, only a half-game lead over both Texas and Seattle. 3rd place is the Minnesota Twins. They've hit 81 wins. So that could be at play too for the 2 seed, because they're at 81 wins. Astros are at 85. The Blue Jays are at 84. They're in the 5th spot. So if the playoffs ended today, they'll be facing Tampa, who they have 6 more games with in this season. So there's a lot to be determined there. I think it's Seattle. I think Seattle is in the 6th spot right now, but it's a virtual tie with the Texas Rangers. And let me tell you why that's important. On Friday, they begin a 3-game series in the first of 7 games of the final 10. So there's 10 games left in the season for both for all 3, Rangers, Astros, and Mariners. 7 of the 10 is Mariners versus Rangers. So that means they can either eliminate each other, or they'll go back and forth and still be in the same position that they're in. But the only way that'll benefit them is if the Astros and the Blue Jays lose. So huge series coming up. And we've been looking forward to the end of this year, the final 10 games, because Seattle has to play 3 at Texas. Then they go home and face 3 against the Astros, and then the final 4 at home against the Texas Rangers. Ladies and gentlemen, they're tied. They're tied for the final spot, and they're both just a half game out for the division lead. So this is huge. This is huge coming down the stretch for the American League West. You could get a 2 seed in a bye, or you can get a 5 seed or a 6 seed, or you're on the outside looking in. Those are the options. Man, we're talking about some exciting final week and a half of baseball coming up, and it starts Friday with the Mariners and the Rangers. That's going to be a good one. That series is important, man. And the Rangers were left for dead after the Astros swept them and really destroyed them and blew them out. But you got to give them credit. They right the ship, and they're right in the thick of things. and both games are a half game. Both teams are a half game back of Houston. So now let's get back to Houston. 3 home games left in this season, and they're against that Kansas City Royals team that you faced just a week ago that you could not beat but one time in Kansas City. This is important, ladies and gentlemen. The season rides on this. If you do what you're supposed to do and what you're capable of doing against the Kansas City Royals, the Mariners are playing the Rangers, and they're going to beat each other up. So there's a chance for separation from them both and separation from one. If it goes bad for one of those teams, meaning one of them gets swept, you cannot let go of the rope. And Dusty Baker's getting a lot of criticism, and you know what, rightfully so, because it seems the decisions he's making it doesn't come with the urgency we're all looking for, especially in a battle for the playoffs in the division. A 2 seed and a bye. That's what's at stake, that they're only holding on to by half a game. They had a 2.5 game lead on Texas and Seattle just a week ago. And then the losing began. Losing to Oakland, losing to Kansas City, and then losing a series. So 3 straight series losses puts you now just at a half a game ahead of your competition. The only good thing is that Texas and Seattle play each other, and they might be eliminating each other. One of them probably not going to make it. Now, I did predict that all 3 American League West teams would make it because I thought Toronto would just fumble it. And at one point, the 3 best teams in the American League, at one point, especially that run where Seattle was hot, looked like it was in the American League West. Texas has taken a tumble. Houston has been just completely up and down. And Seattle has hit the brakes on their hot spot. So, if you hear the sirens, sorry about that. Like I mentioned, I am in New York, so it is pretty loud. But I'm actually in New Jersey, but close to New York. New York City's probably about 15 minutes away. But yeah, this is not nothing to play with right now. It just isn't. You got to do what you got to do if you're the Houston Astros. You need to put your best lineup out there. I'm looking at Dusty Baker, and you need to have the pitching staff do what they're supposed to do and what they haven't done this entire year. Carry us. They haven't done it, guys. They've given up the 8th most home runs. 8th most in the league. Last year, they gave up the 2nd fewest. Houston Astros pitching. It's like, come on, man. We are 39 and 39 at home with 3 home games left. Can we finish above 500 at home? Man, it's a stressful. This is a frustrating, stressful ride that we're going on as Astro fans this year. But you know what, guys? Hopefully it sharpens us. I can't say that it will. I don't know that. I've seen a team that's played pretty well and then pretty bad. Injuries were an excuse, but it hadn't been an excuse since July. And then once we got Michael Brantley back this past month, or I think it was late August, we're at full strength now. We're at full strength. We've got the bats, but the bats go cold way too often, and the pitching just has not held us down. We need a game. We need several games where both sides of the ball do their job. We haven't had that really all year. So it's really wishful and hopeful thinking. But I have seen teams get hot the past couple of years, specifically the Phillies. You could throw the Padres in there in the playoffs, but the Phillies all the way to the World Series, and the Atlanta Braves in 21 all the way to the World Series that they won. They beat us. So, who's going to be that team this year? Hopefully it's the Astros. Hopefully it is. We got the experience. We got to get it together. And this next week is important. The Kansas City Royals, 3 against them, 3 against the Seattle Mariners in Seattle, and we finish out with 3 against the Arizona Diamondbacks. So let's get it rolling, guys. Playoff baseball is on the horizon, and it's going to be extremely, extremely exciting. Now, let's talk about the Texans quickly. Injuries have decimated this team already. Injuries that came out of left field, like Titus Howard, just ended up on the on IL a few days before the opener. Jimmy Ward hadn't played. Michi he played his first game yet last week. Laramie Tunsil's been on injured. I think he's practicing today. Him and Jimmy Ward both practiced today. But our offensive line just getting hurt, and our two best offensive linemen hurt. That hurt. So we coming in not Texans are coming in not even full strength, and it shows simply because our rookie quarterback just needs a little bit more help, and it starts with the offensive line. But I would probably say number one, his help needs to come from the coaching. The offensive coordinator, I think it's Slovic. Forgive me if I pronounced it wrong. Is a little too conservative, and I get it. You got a rookie quarterback, you got a banged up offensive line, but I'm specifically talking about the running game conservative. I mean, I think that we need to. I think some misdirection plays probably need to get added to the playbook to help CJ Stroud out and to get our running back going. Now I'm hearing that from Texan fans on social media. Is Dameon Pierce is he really a number one running back? Now listen, the dude had a great year last year, but he is struggling this year, and it's not all in the offensive line. He's not finding the holes, but you need the play calling to put him in better positions to find those holes. But at some point in time, something's got to change because we have no running game. This is no running game these first two games of the year. I will say this. CJ Stroud has been really steady. He's been really steady, and I like what I see. When he came out of the draft, he didn't have the highest ceiling, but he did seem like the one that would come in and be the most steady. And that's what he's done. And he's brought a little bit of a maturity and stability to that position that it's refreshing to see as a rookie. Also, I like that he's not allowing these losses to get to him. You come from Ohio State, you're used to winning, and he's the first two losses were one was a winnable game. That Baltimore game was a winnable game, but the final score didn't indicate that 25-9. And then this last one against Indy, who, man, if I would have done a pick show, which I haven't done, sorry about that, guys. I'm gonna do one before week 3. I would have picked the Texans to win the game. It was a pick 'em. It was a gimme. I would have picked the Texans to win the game, and it wasn't even close. So I think the defense needs to step up. I know there's been some injuries on the offensive line and then secondary. I think Derek Stingley has looked good, though. I think Derek Stingley Jr. has looked good. So that is a nice sign. Hopefully we get Jalen Petrie back at some point from that chest injury. I like, of course, Jonathan Greenyard has been excellent. Will Anderson has been flashing, and he's been doing he's been showing some elite stuff out on film. So, if we get our secondary back intact, I think we'll be in our offensive line. So pretty much the injuries intact. I think we can compete at a little bit at a better clip than these first 2 games. I am excited about what I see in CJ Stroud, and hopefully the opportunity presents itself that Stroud would be able to open it up just a little bit more. Now, he has thrown a lot of passes. A lot of them, most of them weren't downfield, but I think the play calling has to change. I think it's a little bit too close to the chest. I'm not saying get absolutely liberal and leave your rookie quarterback out to dry, but I do think that he's shown he can handle a little bit more. So let's open it up, give ourselves maybe an opportunity or two to strike big on a couple of plays. 12 play drives. That's not going to happen all the time. 3 and outs. Those things hurt. So I think I know there's a lot of injuries, so I'm not making an excuse, but I have to state the obvious. There's been a lot of injuries, especially on the offensive line. But once we get our guys back, I will evaluate the run game then with Pearson Singletary. Hasn't looked good these first 2 games. You just hasn't. The run game is supposed to be what CJ is relying on so he can get comfortable in the pass game. We got to do something to open that up. That's number 1. Number 2, our secondary has to get healthy, specifically with our safeties, Petrie and Ward. We get those guys back. We should see a more stout defense than what we saw this past game, where Anthony Richardson kind of ran wild, even though he was gone in the first half with a concussion. But our quarterback, I'm not here to compare him with other rookie quarterbacks. I just want to see his progression, and I like what I see. So we'll see what takes place in week 3 on the road. Let me see what time. Oh, I'm sure it's a 12 o'clock Central game. Week 3 on the road, Jacksonville, a team that we played pretty well in recent history. Up until last year, we swept Jacksonville almost every year, and then won a game in Jacksonville last year where didn't think we were going to win that. We made a defensive battle, and 13-6. Pierce had a great game that game. Let's do the same thing. It's in Jacksonville. They're coming off a loss to the Chiefs. Let's see what we can do against them, because the Colts game just got away just too quickly. Let's look at I think on the film. I think with the film you saw that Jacksonville can be explosive in the first. That was specifically the first game, but you saw that the Chiefs tamed them in that second game. Not saying that the Texans have or will hold them to 9 points, but they can be tamed. So let's see if Jimmy Ward plays. Let's get our pass rush going, and I think we can keep that game a little bit closer than what maybe everybody might have thought it or people are thinking it could be. Forgive me. What people are thinking it could be. So it's exciting. We'll see about it. I'm going to do an NFL picks show coming up, so stay tuned for that. But just wanted to give you a H-Town Shutdown episode talking about the Astros, getting the Texans update. It's exciting times coming up in H-Town, so let's get ready for it. And I'll see you guys on the next episode. Appreciate you. Peace.